Hello, gang. Welcome to the stream. Hope everyone's doing good out there. Thank you for those of you who are tuning in live. So for today's stream, we're going to be going through Season 4 Dragonflight Goldmaking. I'm going to go through the weekly routine, as well as we're going to try and see where we have Artisan's Metal left on certain characters in order to be able to maximize the amount of gold that we're getting out of them for the Artisan's Metal that they have. So primarily we'll be converting it into Illustrious Insight and then seeing what has the best profit for us out of that. Beyond that, another thing that I've decided to test out again the past couple days and that have been selling really well for me are the Season 4 PvP gear. Now, I sort of assume that being the final season, and also given the fact that we're like midway through the season, that there probably wouldn't be a lot of gold to be made there, but I was happy to have been proven wrong. I mainly crafted one of each of the like patterns that I picked up that are going super cheap right now, by the way. I picked up most of them for like 50 to 100 gold. I think the maximum budget I had set was like 200 gold, and we picked up quite a few recipes under that 200 gold threshold that we were able to sell most of them for at least about a 500 gold profit per item, which works out to about 35%, something like that, in terms of profit margin, which is the sweet spot for us, right? But I crafted one of each yesterday, posted them up on the auction house. Didn't think that they would sell. I thought, I mainly did it for the first craft bonus on my leather worker because I'm just trying to cap everything out before we get into the war within. But yeah, I crafted one of each, listed them up, they sold. So I luckily caught that before I went to bed, and I crafted two more of each, and those all sold as well. So we are definitely going to be doing a big haul of PvP crafting. And here, of course, as ever, we have our transmog mage up, and we're just going to post some of our transmog items here, and then we'll hop over to my Dragonflight banker and look at all the gold that we've got incoming there. Let's go ahead and boot up our second instance of WoW here as well. So as always, I'm logged on to both my banker character, which is this screen that you'll see, and this is mainly just for auctioning. And then of course I have my main account on which I have all of the actual stuff being done. So that's where I do all of my crafting and most of my questing and all that as well. I actually have in the past week unlocked Dragonflight on my banker account as well. So ideally at some point we should level up our characters on that banker account as well, from 70 to 80, but for the most part we're probably going to wait until the pre-patch, as they are planning on nerfing the amount of experience required to take us from 70 to 80 in the pre-patch. So it should hopefully be a lot easier then. And if you are watching live, please do let me know in chat. Let me know if you guys are excited for today's stream, if you want me to cover anything in specific or any professions in specific. Most likely we will go through all of the professions and just quickly complete all of the weekly tasks that we need to. And I'll sort of just give my thoughts on what the current state of most of these markets are. Of course, I play on North American servers, so if you're playing on EU, probably some different numbers, but I assume that the market's in a fairly similar shape. The numbers might be a little bit different, but the overall philosophies will still carry over pretty well, and should still be able to earn you a bunch of gold. So, all right, looks like we're still logging on that account, so we're just gonna post auctions here real quick. And the way we do all these postings in bulk, by the way, is if you're using Trade Skill Master and you have groups set up, which we do for all of these items, you can actually just bind. You can bind hitting this post button, this one right here, to your scroll wheel. And so if you see on my mouse here, what I've done is I've basically bound it to shift in the scroll wheel in order to keep hitting that post button. And it'll also do the cancel button or the buyout button. You can configure all of that in Trade Skill Master. And then my mouse has this handy little button right here that I can map to whatever I want. Let me actually double check that you guys can see. All right, yeah. So I basically then just hold down the shift button and use my scroll wheel to be able to post things super quick. It's not as much of an issue for the Dragonflight stuff. There I would actually recommend manually posting things, and that's what I'm doing with all of the why is this not getting posted? All right, let's just manually post that. I don't really care too much how much we get for that. All right, so let's just open up the sold items here, and we're gonna camp on this character and log over to the other account, or to the other character rather. But yeah, so for transmog, when you're just posting thousands of items at any given point, I think on that character right then we had about 3,000 items posted up on the auction house, and the majority of that is just crafted transmog, primarily from previous expansions. Everything from Dragonflight I choose to manage on a separate character. I just find it's a little bit easier for inventory management as well as for posting and managing auctions and all that. All right, we are hit with the textbook Valdraken lag, and that is because our game is set to full settings. So let's just take that down. I usually play on full settings. It's just when I'm trying to stream as well as have 2 instances of WoW running, as well as trying to record a couple of different videos at the same time. It becomes a little bit tougher. Textbook Valdraken lag. This is definitely not something I'm going to miss when we move to Dornogal in the War Within. Hopefully, because of the fact that Dornogal is a bit more spread out, we were exploring it on the stream, I want to say last week sometime. Because Dornogal is more spread out, I'm hoping that the lag issue is less of a problem. Of course, what we may also do is just use the toy that we have from the Valentine's Day event, Love is in the Air, I guess it's called, that hides everyone but your party members, because that will help with lag if you're having a lot of lag issues in Valdraken. I guess it doesn't really help too much if you don't have the toy, but hopefully you picked up the toy and may have forgotten that it's still there in your inventory, like in your toy collection. So if that's the case, definitely make use of that to try and avoid some of the lag in Valdraken. Of course, sometimes it will just choose to be a little annoying like that. All right. While we wait for this account to sort itself out, let's come over here to our Dragonflight banker. And as we can see, we have 373,000 gold worth of sold auctions, which will sort of mean that we come back to about 29 million. So the majority of our majority of the profit that we're going to be looking at is going to be from the inventory that we already had crafted, and we're probably going to spend a little bit of gold on mats during this stream as well. So hopefully by the end of this stream, at least we've crafted around a million's gold worth of profit. And we'll keep an eye on that. As far as actually being able to sell a million gold worth of items during this stream and a million gold worth of profit during this stream, that may be a little bit tougher, but let's see how we're going. All right, so here, of course, some of these items that you will see, like the Verdant Conduit or the the Verdant Tether. Same thing goes for like these Shadow Flame tempered armor patches and the Temporal Spell Thread. The high intensity thermal scanners, Dream Tender's charms, some of these optional reagents, these have been where I've just been dumping the Primal Molten alloys as well. Follow the Eye in the Storm. Ooh, 2 of them sold for 220. These must have been the rank 2. But these are the items that where we've basically just been dumping the Artisan's Metal that we've gathered through the bulk of the expansion. So that's not really something that's going to be a repeatable source of gold. Now, I say that though realistically, if you really wanted to, I suppose you could level more characters or take more characters into Dragonflight and go through the one-time sources and get some Artisan's Metal that way. But by and large, on a weekly basis, we'll probably get more and more Artisan's Metal. Well, not we probably will. We will be getting more Artisan's Metal from, of course, doing the weekly chores that we're going to be doing on stream in a second here. But overall, So yeah, some of the gold has come from those artisans metal dumps, but you can see a lot of this gold is also from the Season 4 Dragonflight PvP gear, right? The crafted gear that you pick up the recipes from either doing PvP or realistically just hit your auction house. We're pretty deep into Season 4, so those recipes aren't selling for much, and there's still a lot of gold to be made in them. It really depends on your server's auction house. If you're playing, I mean, I play on Illidan, which is one of the most populated US servers, so generally tends to be quite competitive. If you're playing on, say, a medium realm or even a high pop realm, you're probably going to have an easier time and have to deal with less auction house PvP. Now, during the time I'm online, depending on how much inventory I'm planning on shifting, I may bother cancel scanning for PvP gear. The unfortunate part with Season 4 PvP gear is that unfortunately Trade Skill Master isn't updated to support those items. So although you can add them to groups, I don't think it actually realizes that they're their own item. And so if you try and use Trade Skill Master to post those in bulk, it will most likely tell you that it's overpriced and try and sell it for a couple hundred gold, which you definitely don't want to do. So be very, very careful about using Trade Skill Master with current expansion stuff. I would go as far as saying, really, for my Dragonflight banker, I don't really use Trade Skill Master for posting much of anything. I may use it to post toys, because there my margins are generally pretty high, and generally most of the toys aren't selling at that much of a discount, so it's a little bit safer to do that. But certainly for the PvP gear, and especially for the Season 4 PvP gear, you don't want to do that. Similarly, when we come into Craft Sim here, right? If we do a search and we look at, what the best-selling items are, enchanting is a bad example because enchanting doesn't have any PvP gear. Let's come over to jewel crafting and look at it here instead. Though jewel crafting doesn't have too many crafted PvP items, it's just the neck and the ring, which may not sound like they have a lot of different items, but trust me, those sell super quick. Your margins are going to be probably a lot lower on these, but think of it this way. I mean, every single character needs 2 rings, right? And 451 rings that have a socket in them, plus come with versatility, which is useful for more or less everyone, as well as another random stat that your customers can choose. I mean, spending 500 gold for this is a no-brainer, right? I'm fairly certain even on my, and this is my main character, even on my main character, those would be an upgrade over the rings I currently have. Like I probably should be crafting some of these for my own main. But yeah, that's sort of the situation. The other nice thing about this is that the auction house for gear is still linked only to your server. They're not on the region-wide auction house. So that allows us 2 advantages, actually. One, if you're playing on a less than full pop server, that means that you can probably corner the market a lot easier. The other advantage is that because of that, even if you are playing on a full pop server like I am, you can actually just use tools like the Ouroboros Exchange, or sorry, they renamed it from Ouroboros Exchange. Forgot the name on the stream the other day as well, to the Undermine Exchange, I believe it was. And all you'd want to do here is pick whichever items you're having an issue moving on your main realm. So let's look at the combatant's jeweled amulet, right? One thing you want to do before picking up those PvP recipes is definitely come down here to your unlearn section and have Craft Sim installed, have Trade Skill Master installed, or Auctionator as your source of pricing data, and have that updated. And come down here and use this data here, where it'll tell you your average profit per craft, to figure out which recipes you should pick up and whether or not it's going to be worth buying them or not. Now, I had actually put together a tracking sheet that I used to do all those calculations to figure out how many of a given item I would need to sell in order to break even on the recipe for Season 2 and for Season 3. I haven't bothered to update it for Season 4 because most of the recipes were super cheap anyway. Like I said, I picked up most of them for less than 200 gold, so I knew that I would already be breaking even if I just crafted one for the first craft bonus and managed to sell that. But if you guys are interested, let me know in the comments or in the chat, and I will be happy to update that spreadsheet and share it with you guys. All right. So one thing to note is if you look at the data, it will tell you that the gear from prior seasons is highly profitable. And while it may appear to be that way on paper, that's not actually going to be the case, because no one is going to buy an eye level 412 necklace for 1,000 gold when they can get a 451 season 4 item for 500 gold, right? It's just not something that anyone's going to do. And probably the necklace is even cheaper. I mean, if we look at the ring, according to the data, it's telling us that the season 3 item, which is eye level 412, would sell for 4,000 gold, but no one's going to spend 4,000 gold when they can get the 451 season 4 version for 500 gold, right? So I would ignore the prior seasons items. The only edge case that I could imagine being potentially worth it is if you're able to pick up one of these recipes for super cheap and you just want to do it for the first craft bonus, because it will give you a bonus skill point, right? Of course, we're maxed out on both jewel crafting and enchanting on this character, so we're not going to bother doing that. We did craft some of the rings earlier today. I'm not sure if we sold them yet or not. It is off peak hours now, so it looks like they are still listed in the auction house for us. We could do we may do a cancel scan in a couple of minutes here. But coming back to what I was saying about the ring. So let's say you've gone through, all of the draconic combatant items for your realm or for your profession, and none of them are really profitable. Well, that still doesn't mean you're completely out of luck. Now, the reason being is that since these are restricted to just your server's auction house, you can very easily make use of cross-server trading for this. Now, it will require you to either have a second account like I do, or have a friend that you trust. But basically, as long as you're the same faction, you can just trade them items cross-server, and they can trade it back to your alt on that server. And I would highly recommend using an allied race alt to do that. The reason being is that I've really only tried it actually on Horde with the little furry people. What do you call them? Jeez, I'm blanking on the name. Let's see if it shows up here, because I think we do have an alt that is of that race. Maybe not on this account then. Definitely be here. The Volpera. Yeah, so the Volpera start directly in Orgrimmar, and so it's super easy. Like, they literally spawn somewhere over here, I want to say. And there's an auction house right next door, right? So you can literally just create that character and already be at the auction house, which is super time efficient. But jeweled amulet. All right. So I would use Undermine Exchange for two things. One, if the recipes are seeming super expensive on your server, come over to search for your item on your region. And then if you scroll all the way down to the bottom here, it'll actually tell you what the price of this item is on other servers. So in the case of this item, let's say we wanted to buy the Jeweled Amulet, but let's say it's selling on our server for 90,000 gold, right? We're not going to spend 90,000 gold to buy this recipe. Instead, it's easier to just create an alt on Moonguard here, for instance, and have either a friend or your second account trade you 50 gold and pick it up there instead. Heck, pick up another one and sell it on your realm for 90,000 gold, right? You don't even need to craft these items to make gold off of it. But that aside, we wanted to see, other than figuring out where we can buy things more cheaply, let's also see where we can sell things more profitably, right? So if we come over here, we can see that our server Illidan is near the bottom, right? It's the cheapest place to buy this. And here as well, you can do a bit of fun arbitrage where if this is below your crafting cost, right, another server may be selling it at below your crafting cost for whatever reason. It could be because someone's underestimating how much it's actually costing them to make it. There are still a lot of players in World of Warcraft who think things are free because they farm the mats. which is infuriating to no end. But there are still people out there who think that way, and sometimes people get into PvP or whatever it may be, and in those cases you can literally just create an alt on the server, pick them up for below your crafting costs, and then sell them at your server for somewhere that it's going to be more valuable. But at the very least, what you can probably do is take a look at servers that either have very low supply. So in this example, we would look at a server like these ones, right? Now, the item that's selling for 375 gold on our server, if we were to instead list it on Goldrun, we can sell it for 1500 gold, right? And now, ideally, you would want to figure out which of these servers in your region have a good balance of not too much competition, but also have a good amount of population. So that you're not just like endlessly reposting them and not having anything sell out. I haven't really figured out a scalable way of doing that, but I may, if you guys are interested, let me know, and I may try and work on a spreadsheet that sort of allows you to like copy and paste the data from here, or at least import the data from here and figure out which realms you should be looking at. But yeah, so I mean, I would look at going over to something like Gallywix, list them for like 19.99 or something. Or heck, I mean, just list them at the same price that they're there. I don't think too many people are probably going to pay 10,000 gold for it. And I don't believe Gallywix is a particularly busy server, but I would definitely check on, how busy a given server is. And then, yeah, you can either look at which servers have the highest average price, or the quantity. And it's sort of a catch-22 situation, because ideally you would want something like this, right? Like Barthalas. It's selling for 1200 gold, and there's 88 other units up for sale. That the 88 tells us that the population's pretty high, but the price is also still pretty high, right? It's still at 1200 gold. Now, this is definitely something I've taken less advantage of during Dragonflight than I probably should have. It will be a lot easier in the War Within because of the warband banks, right? The warband banks are going to be server-wide, or region-wide rather, so you won't need a second account to do that. You can just dump things into your warband bank, log over to another character on a different server, and list it on your own account, and you can do all of that with one account. So that said, let's go ahead and start listing our crafting orders for our other characters. And so if you guys aren't familiar with the way that the Dragonflight professions work, basically, of course, we have our weekly crafting quest, where your trainer for whichever professions you have on that character is going to have a quest for you. You need to craft a couple of items, and we generally use that to figure out also what other, like when we're doing that to complete the quests, we also want to see what those items are, because most likely we can probably get some extra gold by crafting a couple extra. And what I mean by that is, first of all, you want to come over to this guy over here and see what the two barter boulder or barter break quests are. Now, I don't have a potion alchemist for Dragonflight. I am planning on putting one together for the War Within, but this would give us a good indication that there's probably going to be more demand for aerated mana potions than usual. Alchemy is not the best of examples because of the fact that it's probably not going to make too much of a dent, but for instance, feral hide drums, right? People are probably going to be heading to the auction house because the majority of people who want to complete this quest aren't going to have leatherworking. And so we probably want to double check feral hide drums and see if the prices for those have gone up, because most likely they have. And even if the prices haven't gone up, the volume almost certainly has, because there's a non-zero number of people who are crafting that. Similarly for enchanting, so this character has enchanting and jewel crafting. Bracer, Writ of Leech. Let's come down to this, and as we can see, the profit percentage is super high. That said, this is a pretty low value item. So even if we sold 1,000 of them, we'd only make about 13,000 gold, which moving 1,000 of these is going to be pretty tough, right? We can see here that the average daily sold for the region, which is a flawed indicator in and of itself, because basically that metric gives you what the average amount sold across. So like, let's say there are 50 servers and 100 units sold, right? it could be the case that 98 of those sold on one server, but it would tell you the average is 2. So I would definitely take it with a grain of salt. Like I wouldn't use this number for anything too significant because we are playing on a full server in my case, for instance. Or sorry, this would anyways, in any case, this would be on the region-wide auction house. So essentially you could arrive at the total demand by multiplying this region average daily sold by the total number of servers in your region. I think that should give you the correct number of like total sales across the entire region. But I mainly use that indicator as a gauge to figure out, you know, what for relative demands, to figure out whether I should craft. Let's say the choice was between Writ of Avoidance and Writ of Leech, right? Writ of Avoidance only has 47 region daily average sold, and Writ of Leech has 78. So if I have to pick between crafting these two, I'm definitely going to pick the Writ of Leech, right? And let's see if speed is even lower. So we definitely don't want to craft that. In any case, let's come over to the Sundered Onyx Loop and see profits for that. So this is also pretty good, right? If you're sitting at, let's say, less than 1 million gold, I would say these are the kinds of things that you definitely want to be doing. Craft a whole bunch of these, post them up on the auction house. Hopefully your server's economy is a little bit better. With things like profession equipment, it is limited to your server. So if you're playing on a less than full population server, you should probably be able to compete there. Similarly, it should be the same quest across the entire region. So even if it's not profitable on your server, we can do the exact same thing that we just did with the Orbos exchange and find another server on which it is profitable to sell it on, right? And heck, I haven't played through the Drakthir quest line. We may actually do that on stream one of these days. Let me know in the comments or chat if you guys want to see that, because I actually have leveled a Drakthir through, like I leveled an Evoker through, a Drakthir Evoker through Remix, but I actually haven't leveled a regular Drakthir Evoker. And if you are keen on leveling one the traditional way, I would recommend create it right now, because once pre-patch hits, they're going to start at level 10 instead of level 58 like they do right now. So you would have to manually level it those 58 points. All right, so let's start off as we always do, by listing crafting orders for all of our other characters. Now, the reason I do this is because we may not be lucky enough to have crafting orders that we can complete, like public crafting orders that go out, and we may not be lucky enough to pick up a customer through trade chat while we're trying to do this. So essentially I just use one of my characters to send crafting orders, like personal crafting orders, to other characters on my account for the profession that they have. And I'll either pick an item that is profitable for me to craft, so things like a sturdy expedition shovel, or as you saw for tailoring, we're doing the wilder cloth bags, right? Because these are always going to have a profit in selling them. I mean, double check for your realm and for your region, but bags are almost always going to be profitable to sell, at least if you're maxed out on the profession the way most of my characters are. Though I would double check that. So for tailoring, I generally use the wilder cloth bag. For blacksmithing, we use the sturdy expedition shovel. And this interface thing here, that's super handy for doing this, comes with profession shopping lists. And essentially you can type in the name of your alt that you want to send the crafting order to. It will remember it from week to week, so you don't need to manually type it in each time or remember it if you only have one of each profession, which was the case for me in Dragonflight, but will not be the case during the War Within, because I am planning on having multiple alts for each profession. Though I don't think this will be as much of an issue, because with the NPC work orders, which we looked at on the stream on Monday, you'll actually be able to complete any quests like this directly on that character itself. I think it's probably pretty unlikely that you will continue to need to do this. If you do, you'll just have to remember your character names a little bit better. But basically, hitting this quick order button will send a crafting order for this item to this character. You can choose whether or not you want to use any reagents that you have on the character that's sending the crafting order, and it will automatically send a crafting order for 12 hours and with a 1 silver commission. So you'll only pay the 5 gold posting fee, right? And then it gives you this handy button here that allows you to just repeat the order. And so we can see by clicking that twice, we now have 3 crafting orders placed for blacksmithing as well. For leatherworking, there's probably is an item that's easier, but this is just super cheap. And even if I vendor them, I'm not too upset because I'm only losing about 7 gold per craft. But I use Pioneer's Leather Wrist Guards. It seems to be the cheapest item to craft with leatherworking in a crafting order. You could probably use like a reagent that may be a little bit cheaper. I haven't really bothered optimizing much further just because I'm not that concerned with spending 21 gold to get 3 knowledge points. And engineering, of course, you can use any of the parts. Handful of ceravite bolts are just super cheap to make, and so we can get away with doing this for like 5 gold, right? Which are the other ones we want to do? Well, we need to send over a crafting order for inscription, but we actually don't need any more treatises on this character. I don't know if we actually have any still left over, but we're fully maxed out on our knowledge points. Actually, we need to go and buy some artisan's metal with the extra knowledge points that we have. And so if in case you are like me and you me on this character I should say, and have maxed out your knowledge points, right, you may still be getting them from first craft bonuses or from your weekly quests or whatever else. And so you can see we have 88 knowledge points despite the fact that we've spent all of our knowledge. And this is also part of profession shopping list, by the way. I cannot say enough good things about that add-on. You can come over to this crafter right here, apprentice crafter, and you can say I happen to be the thing, and it'll allow you to spend your knowledge points in order to buy artisan's metal, which, considering we're not going to be able to carry over any of these knowledge points into the War Within or anything wacky like that, is probably what we're going to want to do. And so we can buy a total of 200 artisan's metal, which I think should be enough for about 4 illustrious insight. Not going to bother to do it just yet. We do need to send some inscription crafting orders over to our scribe. I'm trying to think what the best item would be for inscription. Previously, I've just used the treatises. Let's do our alchemist inscription, our alchemist scribe last, because maybe along the way we'll find something that we need. Maybe we'll find a character that doesn't have enough treatises on their person, although I think I have made sure that all of my characters have more than enough of the treatises for the next couple of weeks. And I'm just double checking crafting orders here because we do still need to do one more to complete this crafting, to complete this quest. So that's what's going on there. All right, I think next we're probably gonna hop onto our tailor leatherworker. And craft all of our PvP gear. So our Death Knight has, funnily enough, leatherworking and tailoring, which I suppose isn't as RP friendly as it could be. And while we're waiting for this loading screen, gang, I'm just going to take a quick break and I will be right back. we are back. Thank you again to everyone who's watching live on Twitch and YouTube. Drop me drop a message in chat if you're watching live, and let me know if you're playing Dragonflight, if you're playing Remix, if you're playing Classic. I can keep listing versions of the game: Season of Discovery, Vanilla, Classic. You know, all the different versions of the game that we have going. All right, so I've actually already picked up the quest, and we may have actually already done some of the profession quests on some of these characters because I was tinkering around with them yesterday, but it doesn't look like we've done the crafting orders on this character. So we've picked up the quest, but we haven't completed them, which is perfect. The other thing you want to make sure you're doing on all of your characters, and I've already, it's actually the first thing I do when I log onto a character for the first time after reset, is come over to this guy here, Thomas Bright, and pick up your free Artisan's Medal. If you are not exalted with the Artisans Consortium, I would recommend doing that first. So you may want to complete all these quests and then do that at the end, because you will get more Artisan's Medal if you like the more reputation you have with them, capping out, of course, at rank 5 out of 5, which is esteemed, at which point you get 150 Artisan's Medal per week. So the Artisan's Medal, you're going to, of course, need to craft your profession tools. But once you're done with that, essentially you can use it to upgrade. You can use it to upgrade items for crafting orders, or you can use it, or you can convert it to Illustrious Insights and use that to craft items, which is the way I prefer to do it. I generally tend to not find it worth it to sit in trade chat spamming you know, all of my trade skills and trying to find someone to pay me for it. I prefer to just do it myself. So first things first, we are going to complete the 3 crafting orders that we just sent over from our main. Oh, wait, looks like we got to buy more reagents, and this is the other nice thing about profession shopping lists. It will allow you to add things to queue even from your crafting order thing. So even if you've accepted a crafting order, let's say you got lucky and you found a public crafting order with a huge commission that more than pays for the mats, you can just hit track and it will automatically queue that up for you to buy the reagents for it. All right, the other things that we needed to craft with leatherworking was we need the Trailblazer scale bracers. Now, let's see if the prices for this have gone up. I think I may have actually favorited it because it does show up every now and then. Or not. Scaled bracers. Here we go. That's the one. All right, so not a huge spike in profitability, but that may be because we're looking at using rank 3 mats. Okay, looks like regardless of what quality mats we use, it's not a huge amount of profit. So someone's either beaten us to the punch, or there's just a lot of these on the auction house as it is. Yeah. If you really wanted to min-max, I suppose you could send a crafting order to yourself for 3 of these, craft them through the crafting order, and then mail them back to this character. But these are cheap enough to craft that I'm really not going to bother with that. And it looks like we do have mats to craft 2 of these, but let's queue that up anyway. And we're not going to craft any extra just because there's not enough profit to justify it. And for tailoring, we need to complete the crafting orders that we have for the bags. Let's check the public orders on the off chance that there is something here that makes sense for us to craft profitably. You do get lucky every now and then, especially if you play at off-peak times like I tend to do for my server. And I did get some first craft bonuses, I think it was yesterday or the day before. Although I did have to run Brackenhide, the Brackenhide dungeon to get to the like crafting table it has at the end, the altar of decay, I think it's called. All right, and so actually we don't even need to craft this one for our quest because we did do a tailoring crafting order yesterday. What we do need to do is we need to craft a Simply Stitched reagent bag. I think that was, yep, Simply Stitched reagent bag. And let's see if that has any additional demand. I'm guessing not, but you never know. 16 gold, not too bad, 266% profit, right? And we have the mats on deck, so let's just go ahead and craft this so that we can complete the quest and be on our merry way. item. And we'll just do the same thing for leatherworking. So let's craft those bracers, because then we need to start crafting our PvP gear, and that's going to take a good amount of time as well. And of course, whenever we're crafting Dragonflight items, we want to make sure that we have our aerated file of quick hands up, as it increases your crafting speed by 30%, which isn't probably a huge deal, but it definitely makes bulk crafting sessions like this a lot easier to manage. And as you guys can see, I really need to clear out the inventory of this character. So let's see if there's anything we can vendor real quick. I mean, I think probably most of these items can be vendored. I haven't really optimized my gear on this character. I'm wondering if putting this through the what do you call it? The thing over here. Is it here? The revival catalyst will unlock any more transmog for us. All right, I think we will hold on to those items just for a little bit. Let's just go ahead and vendor these potions though. The reason I want to maximize the amount of bag space I have here is because we are going to be definitely crafting more than 50 pieces of PvP gear, and so it just means we have to shuffle back and forth from the mailbox fewer times. Did we? Yeah, we turned that in. All right, let's go turn in the crafting order quests. Well, no, we still need the resilient leather in order to be able to do that. And since Trade Skill Master isn't working super well for Dragonflight, like I mentioned, I've mainly been relying on Profession Shopping List, and it does have a lot of cool features, including this one that they added fairly recently, in my understanding, where you can basically just hit this one button and it will automatically search an auctionator for all of the reagents you need. It's not super accurate at figuring out what quality you need, so that you will have to keep track of manually unless there's a feature that I am unaware of, which I suppose could be the case. All right, let's just pick up 300 resilient leather because we keep going through it and it's pretty cheap. And we probably, well, I don't think we need it actually for the PvP gear. But I want to get the crafting orders out of the way so that we can then focus on... oh. Dang it! I always end up getting stuck in this thing. Alright, let's dismount. And I was trying to grab these... the Dream Surge Coalescence, because I don't really actively do much PvE or PvP on these characters, so things like the Time Rifts and the Dream Surge events are where it's generally how I gear up my characters. This character, as you can see, hasn't really been doing too much of that because those are eye level 467. And yeah, I mean, even this character, I could probably just buy a whole set of the 451 crafted gear to upgrade my eye level super quick. We don't have PvP weapons that we can craft yet in Dragonflight, or I doubt they're going to add them in later on in the season, so I don't think we're going to get them at all during Dragonflight. But crucially, and what I'm super excited for, is that in the War Within, you can craft PvP weapons as well, which is going to be huge for crafters, because essentially you've then become a one-stop shop for any PvPer, right? And something that I did try earlier on in Dragonflight that didn't really end up working too much was trying to sell full sets of gear through trade chat. So the idea was that, you know, someone would pay me, let's say 10 grand for an item in every slot, basically, and I would give them their rings and their necks and you know, all of the different components. But again, I play at off-peak hours, so I didn't really have too much reception to it. But if you are playing on peak hours for your server, that may work. All right, let's come over here. Turn in these. And I may not have mentioned it on this stream, but essentially the reason that we want to make as much gold as we can before the War Within is because the best way to guarantee that you make a whole bunch of gold in the War Within is going to be by making sure that you have a lot of gold going into it. It takes gold to make gold, right? It's the same thing as money. You need startup capital. And especially early on in an expansion, mats are going to be super, super expensive. Now, I personally do not like to farm. And so that's sort of why I prefer to just buy all my mats, especially earlier on in a, like especially earlier on in an expansion when I have to spend a bunch of time on, leveling up professions and leveling up characters and things like that. So I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time. But in the first couple of days, if you, again, I would say probably if you have less than like a couple of million gold, you may want to spend those first couple of days gathering. Map prices are going to be absolutely insane, right? At the start of Dragonflight, there were people charging thousands of gold for leather, for scales, for cloth, for all sorts of different items, right? Because the market hadn't figured out the pricing yet. And most players were so busy experiencing the new content that they weren't necessarily taking all the time to like list everything that they farmed on the auction house and so forth as well as the fact that like the bulk of farmers were more focused on leveling up than they were on um, farming mats. So if you're not going into the war within with a large war chest, um, then I would definitely gather at the start. But ideally, you want to have a large war chest just going in, because that is the easiest way to ramp up quickly and take advantage of markets early. Because how much ever you farm, it's not going to compare to how many mats you could just buy off the auction house and use to power level your professions. All right, while we're waiting for this recipe scan to complete, sorry gang, 1 second, we are continuing to have some technical issues. It appears, as much as I try and optimize things, it seems like things do tend to get a little iffy. Because I don't seem to be able to open up my Twitch stream on So strangely for me on Twitch, I'm able to hear audio, but I'm not able to actually see any video. If you guys are watching live on Twitch, please do let me know if you guys are able to see me or not. I'm not sure what's going wrong. I did try restarting the stream earlier on, which seemed to have fixed things, but it doesn't seem to be wanting to let me do this. All right, I'm gonna move over to. I'm gonna take a quick little break just to try and see if I can figure out what's going wrong. See you guys in a few. Alright, gang, it looks like the issue may be particular just to Twitch. I think potentially stopping the stream and restarting it should hopefully fix it, and then we can be live on both YouTube and Twitch at the same time. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stop the stream now and then restart it